The big silver airplane gleamed in the morning sun, ready to fly high above the clouds. Inside, the first-class section was extra fancy. The seats were big and comfy, covered in soft leather. Little screens showed cartoons and movies. Everything smelled new and clean. Up in the cockpit, Captain Sterling adjusted his hat. He looked out at the plane, a little smile on his face. He thought he was the best pilot in the whole world. He had flown so many times and knew everything about airplanes. He liked to tell people how important he was. He puffed out his chest and straightened his tie. Another smooth flight coming up, he mumbled to himself, already imagining the passengers clapping when they landed. He thought being a pilot made him special, better than everyone else on the plane. He tapped his fingers on the controls, eager to show off his skills. Little did he know, this flight would be very different from all the others. This flight would change everything. While Captain Sterling was lost in his thoughts of greatness, Mr. Jones walked down the airplane aisle. He wore a nice suit and shiny shoes. He carried a small briefcase. He moved with a quiet grace. He found his seat in first class and carefully placed his briefcase in the overhead bin. Mr. Jones smiled politely at the flight attendant as she offered him a drink. He asked for water with lemon. He didn't make a fuss or ask for anything special. He just wanted to get comfortable for the flight. He pulled out a book from his bag. It had a picture of a courthouse on the cover. He sat back in his seat and began to read. He didn't talk to the people around him. He just kept to himself, enjoying the quiet time before takeoff. He seemed like a kind and gentle man, minding his own business. He had no idea that his peaceful flight was about to be disturbed by Captain Sterling's bad attitude. He simply wanted a calm journey, but trouble was on its way. Captain Sterling, still feeling important, decided to walk through the first-class cabin before takeoff. He wanted to make sure everything was perfect. He spotted Mr. Jones reading his book. A frown appeared on the captain's face. He couldn't believe a black man was sitting in first class. He walked over to Mr. Jones's seat. "Excuse me," Captain Sterling said, his voice dripping with fake politeness. "Are you sure you're in the right seat?" Mr. Jones looked up, surprised. "Yes, sir, I am," he replied calmly. Captain Sterling smirked. "Really? Because sometimes there are mistakes. Perhaps you should double-check your boarding pass." He made the word mistakes sound like Mr. Jones didn't belong there. He wanted to embarrass him. He leaned closer, his voice low and condescending. "First class isn't usually for everyone, you know." He looked around, hoping other passengers were watching. He wanted to make Mr. Jones feel small and out of place. He thought he was being clever, but he was just being mean. Mr. Jones didn't get angry or shout. He didn't even raise his voice. Instead, he calmly reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out his boarding pass. It was crisp and clean, showing his name and seat number. He held it out to Captain Sterling. "Here's my boarding pass, sir," he said, his voice steady and even. "As you can see, I am indeed in the correct seat." Captain Sterling snatched the boarding pass. He looked at it closely, his face turning a little red. Mr. Jones was right. He was in seat 1A, just like the pass said. Even though Captain Sterling was being rude and unfair, Mr. Jones stayed calm. He didn't let the pilot's bad behavior bother him too much. He kept his head held high. He showed that he knew his worth and wouldn't let anyone treat him poorly, no matter what they said or did. He was a strong and dignified man. He just wanted to be treated with respect like everyone else. Sarah, the flight attendant, had been watching the whole thing. She was busy helping passengers, but she couldn't help but notice the way Captain Sterling was talking to Mr. Jones. Her heart sank. She knew it wasn't right. She bit her lip and frowned. She felt terrible for Mr. Jones. She could see the hurt in his eyes even though he was trying to stay strong. Sarah knew that Captain Sterling was being unfair and mean. She wished she could say something, but she was afraid of losing her job. She wrung her hands in her apron. She hated seeing people treated badly. She believed everyone should be treated with kindness and respect, no matter their skin color or where they came from. Captain Sterling's actions made her feel ashamed. She knew she had to do something, even if it was risky. She couldn't just stand by and watch. She had to find a way to help Mr. Jones and stop Captain Sterling from acting like that again. Captain Sterling, even after seeing the boarding pass, didn't let it go. He handed it back to Mr. Jones with a huff. "Well, I guess you were in the right seat," he said, but his voice still had a nasty edge. "Just try to keep your feet off the furniture." He mumbled something under his breath as he walked away, something about people these days. Mr. Jones simply sighed and went back to reading his book, trying to ignore the pilot's rudeness. Because of the argument, the plane was now behind schedule. The pilot should have been getting ready for takeoff, but instead he was causing trouble in the cabin. The other passengers started to get restless. They whispered to each other, wondering what was going on. The flight attendants were trying to calm everyone down, but it was hard with the grumpy pilot still making snide comments. The small delay was becoming a big problem, all because of Captain Sterling's bad attitude. As Mr. Jones tried to focus on his book, a lady sitting across the aisle gasped softly. She had been listening to the whole exchange between him and the pilot. She peered at Mr. Jones more closely. She recognized him. She leaned forward and whispered to the woman next to her, "That's him. That's Mr. Jones, the lawyer." The other woman's eyes widened. "You mean, the famous one?" "Yes," the First Lady whispered excitedly. "He's been in all the big civil rights cases. He helps people who are treated unfairly. He's a hero." They both looked at Mr. Jones with a new sense of respect. They couldn't believe that Captain Sterling had treated such an important man with such disrespect. They knew that Mr. Jones was a champion for justice, and they were shocked that someone would be so rude to him, especially knowing all the good he had done for others. The word quickly spread through the first-class cabin. People began to realize who Mr. Jones really was. The lady who recognized Mr. Jones felt she had to do something. She stood up and walked over to Captain Sterling, who was now pretending to check something near the front of the cabin. "Excuse me, Captain," she said, her voice firm but polite. Captain Sterling turned around, a smug look on his face. "Yes." "Do you know who that is?" she asked, pointing towards Mr. Jones. Captain Sterling scoffed. "Just some passenger who thinks he's too good for coach." The lady shook her head. "That is Mr. Jones. He's a very famous lawyer. He fights for people's rights. He's a hero to many." Captain Sterling's face went white. He suddenly realized the gravity of his actions. He had just insulted and belittled a man who was respected and admired by so many. He felt a wave of embarrassment wash over him. His arrogance quickly turned to fear. He knew he had made a terrible mistake. He could feel his career slipping away. Captain Sterling quickly rushed over to Mr. Jones, his face now a mask of fake sincerity. "Mr. Jones," he stammered, "I am so sorry. I had no idea who you were. Please forgive me." He tried to pat Mr. Jones on the shoulder, but Mr. Jones subtly moved away. He continued to read his book, not even looking up at the pilot. He wasn't going to make it easy for Captain Sterling. Captain Sterling kept talking, his voice getting louder and more desperate. "I didn't mean any disrespect. I just wanted to make sure everything was in order. You understand, don't you?" He was trying to save his own skin, but it was too late. Mr. Jones finally looked up, his eyes calm and steady. He didn't say a word. His silence spoke volumes. Captain Sterling's apology meant nothing. It was insincere and driven by fear, not genuine remorse. Mr. Jones simply returned to his book, dismissing the pilot's pathetic attempt at damage control. He would not accept the apology. Sarah watched Captain Sterling's clumsy attempt to apologize with disgust. She knew it wasn't genuine. She couldn't let this go unpunished. During a quiet moment, she slipped into the small galley near the front of the plane. She picked up the phone and discreetly called the airline's ground staff. She explained what she had witnessed, emphasizing Captain Sterling's discriminatory behavior towards Mr. Jones. She explained how he had questioned Mr. Jones's right to be in first class because of his race. She spoke quietly and quickly, not wanting to be overheard. She knew this could be risky for her, but she felt it was the right thing to do. She told them everything, leaving out no details. She hoped that the airline would take her seriously and take appropriate action. She knew that Captain Sterling's behavior was unacceptable and that he should be held accountable for his actions. She wanted to make sure that no one else would be treated that way on one of their flights. A few minutes later, a voice came over the intercom. It wasn't Captain Sterling's voice. It was a different, more formal voice. "Ladies and gentlemen," the voice said, "we regret to inform you that there will be a further delay due to a personnel issue. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause." The passengers started whispering again. "A personnel issue? What does that mean?" One person asked. "Is someone sick?" Another wondered. The news spread quickly through the cabin. People were getting impatient. They had places to be, and this mysterious delay was making them nervous. They looked around, trying to figure out what was going on. Some suspected it had something to do with the earlier argument between Captain Sterling and Mr. Jones. Others thought it might be a mechanical problem. But everyone agreed that something strange was happening. The tension in the air was thick. Everyone was curious to know the real reason for the delay. Suddenly, two people in uniform walked onto the plane. They weren't police officers, but they looked like security personnel. They walked straight to the cockpit door. After a brief conversation, they came out with Captain Sterling. The passengers gasped. Captain Sterling looked pale and defeated. The security personnel gently but firmly escorted him off the plane. He didn't say a word. He just kept his head down, trying to avoid eye contact with anyone. The passengers were shocked and confused. They whispered to each other, trying to figure out what was happening. Did he do something wrong? One asked. Why are they taking him off the plane? Another wondered. Mr. Jones watched the scene unfold with quiet dignity. He didn't show any emotion. He simply continued to read his book. He knew that justice was being served. He knew that Captain Sterling's actions had consequences. The passengers were left in stunned silence, wondering what would happen next. After a short wait, a new pilot, Captain Ramirez, boarded the plane. He had a kind smile and a calm demeanor. He walked confidently to the cockpit and addressed the passengers over the intercom. "Good morning, everyone," he said, his voice warm and reassuring. "I understand there have been some unforeseen circumstances. I want to apologize for the delay and assure you that we are now ready for takeoff." He paused for a moment, then continued, "My priority is to ensure a safe and pleasant flight for all of you. We appreciate your patience and understanding." His words were like a breath of fresh air. The passengers felt relieved and reassured. They could tell that Captain Ramirez was a true professional. He seemed genuinely concerned about their well-being. He inspired confidence and trust. The atmosphere on the plane instantly changed from tense and uncertain to calm and hopeful. Everyone was ready to put the earlier incident behind them and finally begin their journey. They felt safe in his hands. Throughout all the commotion, Mr. Jones remained a picture of quiet dignity. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't make a scene, and he didn't demand special treatment. He simply handled the situation with grace and composure. He went back to reading his book, seemingly unaffected by the chaos around him. But inside, he knew he had stood up for what was right without saying a word. He showed everyone that prejudice and arrogance would not be tolerated. The other passengers couldn't help but admire his strength and poise. They saw how he had handled himself with such class, even when faced with disrespect and discrimination. They realized that he was a true role model, someone who stood up for justice in a quiet but powerful way. They started to whisper about him, praising his courage and his calm demeanor. He had earned their respect and admiration. He was a hero not just in the courtroom, but in everyday life. He showed them how to handle difficult situations with grace and strength. Once the plane finally took off, several passengers started tweeting about the incident. They shared what they had witnessed, praising Mr. Jones's dignity and condemning Captain Sterling's behavior. The story quickly went viral. News outlets picked up the story, and soon it was everywhere. People were outraged that a pilot would treat someone so unfairly based on their race. Social media exploded with angry comments and calls for Captain Sterling to be fired. The hashtag Justice for Mr. Jones started trending worldwide. People from all walks of life expressed their support for Mr. Jones and their disgust for Captain Sterling's actions. The internet was filled with messages of love, respect, and solidarity. The incident became a symbol of the ongoing fight against prejudice and discrimination. People used the story to highlight the importance of treating everyone with respect, regardless of their background. Captain Sterling's actions had sparked a global conversation about equality and justice. The world was watching. Faced with overwhelming public pressure, the airline had no choice but to respond swiftly and decisively. They released an official statement condemning discrimination of any kind. They emphasized their commitment to treating all passengers with respect and dignity. The statement went on to announce Captain Sterling's immediate termination. The airline made it clear that his behavior was unacceptable and did not reflect the values of their company. They apologized to Mr. Jones and to all their passengers for the distress caused by the incident. The airline's quick response was praised by many. People felt that they had taken the right action and sent a strong message that prejudice would not be tolerated. The incident served as a wake-up call for the entire industry. It showed that companies would be held accountable for the actions of their employees and that discrimination would not be tolerated. It was a victory for justice and equality. Captain Sterling's world crumbled around him. He was no longer a respected pilot. He was now known as the arrogant and prejudiced man who had mistreated Mr. Jones. His career was over. No other airline would hire him. His reputation was tarnished beyond repair. He had thrown away everything he had worked for because of his own hateful behavior. He lost the respect of his colleagues, his friends, and even his family. He became a pariah and outcast. He was forced to face the consequences of his actions. He learned a hard lesson about the importance of treating everyone with respect. He realized that prejudice and arrogance have no place in society. He had learned it the hard way. His downfall served as a cautionary tale. It showed that actions have consequences and that discrimination will not be tolerated. It was a reminder that everyone deserves to be treated with kindness and respect, regardless of their race or background. His life was changed forever. Mr. Jones became an even greater symbol of dignity and resilience. His calm and composed response to Captain Sterling's prejudice inspired people all over the world. He showed them that it was possible to stand up to injustice without losing your cool or resorting to anger. He continued to fight for civil rights, using his platform to advocate for equality and justice for all. He became a beacon of hope for those who had been marginalized and discriminated against. His story was shared in schools and communities, teaching children about the importance of respect and tolerance. He became a role model for young people, showing them that they could make a difference in the world, no matter their background. Mr. Jones's legacy lived on, inspiring generations to come. He proved that one person's actions, no matter how small, can have a profound impact on the world. He showed that dignity and resilience can overcome prejudice and hate. He became a true hero for justice. His name was remembered forever. Sarah, the flight attendant who had witnessed the whole incident, was also recognized for her bravery. The airline commended her for her quick action in reporting Captain Sterling's discriminatory behavior. They praised her for standing up for what was right, even when it was difficult. She received awards and recognition for her courage and integrity. She became a symbol of hope and justice for other flight attendants and airline employees. She showed them that it was possible to make a difference even in a small way. She used her newfound platform to advocate for better training and policies to prevent discrimination in the airline industry. She worked tirelessly to create a more inclusive and respectful environment for both passengers and employees. Sarah's actions proved that one person can make a difference. Her bravery inspired others to speak out against injustice and to stand up for what is right. She became a hero not just for Mr. Jones, but for everyone who believed in equality and respect. She showed the world that even small acts of courage can have a big impact. She was a true inspiration. The story of Captain Sterling, Mr. Jones, and Sarah teaches us a valuable lesson. It reminds us that every person deserves to be treated with respect, regardless of their race, background, or any other difference. It shows us that prejudice and arrogance have no place in our society. Captain Sterling's downfall serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of hate and discrimination. His actions not only ruined his own life but also caused pain and suffering to others. Mr. Jones's quiet dignity and Sarah's bravery demonstrate the power of standing up for what is right, even in the face of adversity. They show us that one person's actions can make a difference in the world. Let us all strive to be more like Mr. Jones and Sarah, treating everyone with kindness, respect, and compassion. Let us learn from Captain Sterling's mistakes and work towards creating a more just and equitable world for all. Remember to always be kind. Choose respect over prejudice. Stand up for others. Make the world a better place. That is the lesson we must all learn.